gonna work. You got no work. You're doing something.
Okay, let's remember.
Yeah, fuck them. Invitational message, live. 1 second. The cookie is with the right hand, guys, not the left hand, huh? Inshallah. Don't forget mirror effect, huh?
Yeah, okay.
You have another cup, Ahmed? Hold on. Yes, live. La.
Bank points.
May Allah make it easy.
Questions from online?
Hold on. You started a new stream, Ahmed? You started a new one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
JB from Florida, USA. Doesn't mention the city. Next question. Initials RA from Boston, Massachusetts. Is wrestling from the Sunnah, and is it allowed to host a mosque wrestling tournament for the guys?
No, I like him.
That's really good.
Is wrestling from the Sunnah, and is it lawful to hold a WWE what? WWE in the Masjid. Right, inshallah. That's however you are playing. I'm him. To say that wrestling is Sunnah, I wouldn't say that necessarily. Permissible, lawful, yes. In the Hadith, yes. Did the Prophet ﷺ speak on wrestling, encourage it, promote it, say that there's a barakah or blessing in it? I don't know. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's Sunnah. Similar to wearing turban. Sunnah to Aida is something that the Prophet ﷺ did, his custom, tradition, and if a person does it with that sole and absolute intention, inshallah they'll get a reward. But there is no authentic hadith about the virtue of turbans. There's no authentic hadith about the barakah of a turban. Alright? And there are many other things like that as well. Hijama, etc., etc. So, I mean, people just say sunnah. So if that's what you mean, khayran. Alright? As far as having wrestling in the masjid, wrestling, inshallah, hopefully brings about fitness, conditioning, self-defense, all right? And many people, unfortunately, they take these different sports or pieces of recreation and they remove them from something that they're not supposed to remove them. And that is riding a horse, swimming, bow and arrow, this and that. The Abyssinians playing with their spears in the masjid that was allowed for the purpose of leading to the what? The warrior spirit of fighting, of being physically ready and prepared to fight. Not just a sport and a recreation. The state of the Muslims, for many, hundreds of years now, it's not just a new thing, is well known. May Allah help us all, starting with myself. What's important is, it's like any other activity, basketball, whatever. If it brings the Muslims to the masjid, brings the youth to the masjid, allows them to learn something, teaches them some type of discipline, some type of respect, some type of strength and skill, alhamdulillah. May Allah help our youth. Many of our youth today, they really don't want anything. Deen or dunya. They're not interested in the deen or dunya. Just sitting on my phone or watching a video or video game and that's it. Okay? Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, indeed, he would say, I hate to see a man sitting void. He's not in the deen or the dunya. He's not reading the Quran. He's not farming, tending to his horse. He's just waste. And that's Abdullah bin Mas'ud, right? Imagine if Abdullah bin Mas'ud saw some of us, humans, grown-ups, let alone our teenagers, that don't want this or that. Okay, you don't want to study, you don't read Quran, at least get some money. Be about some sports. You want to play sports, what do you want to do? I just want to have fun. Maybe you should aspire to play professional sports. If not the NBA, college, or this league, overseas. No, I just, I'm just chilling. May Allah protect us from that. So therefore, khayran inshallah. With that intention and those guidelines, hopefully be nothing wrong with it. But the masjid is not supposed, the masjid is not to be turned into a steel cage match. The masjid is not turned into an arena. Alright? Many people, they and the same applies to politics as well. Certain things being mentioned in the masjid, versus the masjid becoming a political center. The masjid, people talking about vaccines, versus the masjid being used as a what? As a problem. Alright? So we have to keep the respect for the masjid. The masjid is a house of ibadah. Wallahu a'lam. Next question from Milan Khalid.
Initials FK from New York, New York. The place where I work at now has a Christmas tree and statues relating to Christmas. Is it appropriate to pray salah in this type of environment?
Try to find a room or a corner that doesn't have those trees and statues and idols. Wallahu a'lam.
Next question. Initials AM from London, UK. Is there a time limit for morning and evening adhkar? For example,
Next question.
Initials UZ from San Francisco, California. Is it permissible for a Muslim to participate in a female-only group Umrah without her mahram, but with her mahram's permission?
Some scholars have allowed a woman traveling without a male mahram if she's accompanied by a group of trustworthy sisters. Next question.
Initials HA from Hamilton, Canada. Is it permissible to recite Surah Fatiha at engagement, or is this bid'ah?
Doing it systematically, each and every single time, ritually, not from the sunnah, could be bid'ah for sure. If you did it here and there, or recite something from the Quran, the barakah of the Quran, the speech of Allah, okay, the best way of opening up in a marriage, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا اسْتَحْلَلْتُمْ فُرُوجَهُنَّ. He says that you've only made their private parts lawful with the words of Allah. That's one thing. Versus the systematic way of Fatiha. Recite this. That's a problem. Allah.
Next question. Initials SC from Jamaica, Queens, New York. There's an app on a phone that makes someone's face move. So one can put a picture of a deceased parent and the app will let the picture move around. Is this app permissible to use?
Stay away from that app. Let the dead be dead. Period. Class. It's over. It's done. Make dua for them. Let go. They're no longer living. And one day you're going to be dead. I'm going to be dead. Kullu man alayha fan. Everyone's going to die. Period. Let the dead be dead. Let them be with their deeds, good or bad. Period.
Next question. Initials HA from Hamilton, Canada. The Ash'aris use the ayah, and He is with you wherever you are, to say that Allah is everywhere. How do we reply to this and understand this?
I've never heard Ash'aris say that before. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials AA from Mississauga, Ontario. Other than compatibility, what should a believer look for in a potential spouse in terms of deen, especially in this day and age of fitna and lack of deen?
Besides compatibility, look for someone that you can look up to, someone that will lead you, inspire you, and influence you. Compatibility is one thing, we're similar, and if you're looking for extra, you have extra space in your salary cap, no doubt, draft someone that can what? A little more talent, right? If you have extra money in your salary cap, right? Get somebody that has a little more than just compatibility. Get someone that can push you to be better in your deen, inshallah ta'ala.
Initials QB from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. Do we raise our hands during the takbirat in the Janazah prayer and the Eid prayer?
It's optional to raise them with every takbirah or to keep them down after the first takbirah. It's both optional. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials HA from Hamilton, Canada. Do the angels greet you when you enter the house? Should you say the salam to them?
You say the du'as that the Prophet ﷺ used to make. You say what Allah says in the Quran. Give salams to yourself. Fasallimu. Give salams to your own selves. Let alone the righteous servants of Allah that you don't see, that you don't hear. Wallahu alam.
Initials AM from Schenectady, New York. Why do some Muslim brothers want to marry non-believing women?
Why do some Muslim brothers want to marry non-believing women? Allahu alam. They may have different reasons. Like any other reason, somebody may say, there are no Muslim women in my town. Or, I can't get along with no Muslim sisters. Every time I tried a sister, it ended up bad, and the Christian sister, or the Christian girl didn't give me those problems. She didn't have a smart mouth, or this problem, or this issue. Allahu alam.
They say Muslim girls are hard to talk to.
Whatever, the Christian woman is more beautiful. Allah knows best. Maybe he is his girlfriend, or whatever the case may be. I know him. At the end of the day, I wouldn't advise a brother in 2021 to marry a Christian woman, period. I wouldn't advise with it at all. Unless she is leaning towards Islam heavily, and she respects Islam, and she acknowledges and admits that Islam is the way, but I'm not ready yet, or I need a little more time, or whatever the case may be. All right. As far as a woman that's, she's a Christian and Jesus and blah blah blah, you have it evident. No way. Especially with the weakness of men in general, us, let alone Muslim men, weak. Okay, and men have been emasculated for years now, being feminine and girly and not being dominant, putting their foot down, taking control of the situation. So when you have children, what's going to happen with those children? You marry a Muslim woman, you guys get divorced. The sister used to cover up. She's divorced from you now, she doesn't cover anymore. You marry a Muslim sister, she used to pray like this now, let alone what?
Your kids too.
Well, so that's the point I'm trying to get to. Where those kids want to go? Is it 50-50? They'll go to the mosque, no problem, and they also want to go to preacher, pastor,
Lord Jesus.
Godfrey, whatever his name is. Whatever his name is, right?
Jehovah.
So that's a huge problem, right, guys? That's a huge problem. So the concept of a Muslim man marrying a Jewish woman, or the Muslim man marrying a Christian woman that's chaste, is that the Muslim man is the imam of the household. He is in charge. It's not a two-way street. No. Call it chauvinistic, whatever you want to call it. The Muslim man is the dominant one. This is my house. It's a Muslim house. You're allowed to keep your faith, but it is hatta yu'tul jizyata an yadin, Islam is supposed to be dominant and not it's 50-50. The kids can learn this, All right? And Allah knows best.
Initials JB from Tampa, Florida, USA. It's mentioned that your dua get accepted in one of three ways. Number one, you get what you asked. Number two, a calamity is removed. Or number three, you get the reward in the day of judgment. Can a person get all three?
Can a person get all three? Allah knows best. Allah is most merciful. Allahu Akbar.
Initials IT from Roseville, California. Is it permissible to work at a grocery store in the U.S. and all major stores offer credit card lines? Is this permissible?
Sometimes unavoidable. If you had your own grocery store, it's unavoidable. Tax, insurance. Everyone is not going to pay with cash. Cash, what's behind cash? Dollar bills. Are they tayyib? Or is gold and silver? Many things are unavoidable. Fear Allah the best way you can. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials UA from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What part of a non-Muslim's funeral can one attend? The wake, the eulogy where the pastor and others speak, or the actual burial?
If you have to bury your non-Muslim relative, you help bury them. Physically, financially, mixture of both. If you wish to offer your family support and general condolences, you do that. Sitting around drinking, dancing, partying, people lying on the law and lying on Christ, no. It's very simple. I'll go to the funeral, I'll see you guys there, you give your mom, your aunt a hug, a kiss, blah, blah, blah. Look at that. I gotta get up, I'll be right back. I'll come later. Look at that. And any sincere non-Muslim, if they see your face that in itself makes a statement. You can, right? You can. You understand? You don't have to sit around and do all of the mingling, shing dinging, etc. as they do. You don't have to. Stick and move. You hit and run, right? You see your aunt, you give her a hug, a kiss, you sit with them, you eat some food in there. I'll be back. I gotta go. They appreciate that. You don't have to just, sit around and all of that nonsense in Baltimore. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal ya akhi. You, go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Is it permissible to ask a person on Umrah or Hajj to make dua for you?
Asking someone to make dua for you on Umrah or Hajj. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. We'll just know for sure. Allah answers the dua in any location from any servant from whom He wills. Certain places, times better, for sure. There's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal Ahmed.
So going back to what you said about the minimum amount to shave, to trim your hair for Hajj and Umrah. Is there a difference for women?
Say the question again, I'm sorry?
So in regards to the minimum amount of trimming your hair for Hajj and Umrah.
Okay.
Is there a different minimum for women?
Is there a different, in general it's the same. If a woman just cut a small tip off of one lock, or if she had a ponytail, or however her hairstyle is, that would suffice. That would suffice as well. Wallahu a'lam.
So this is reconciling between a few hadith and the issue of ahad hadith and their usage. So the first hadith is from Sahih Bukhari, narrated by Abu Hurairah, "Ana inda dhanni abdi wa ana ma'ahu dhakaran." And the same hadith, and the hadith goes on. The same hadith, but without the first part, but the rest is mentioned also in Masjid, the last volume, the first volume, the narrative of Muslim Ahmed. Now, the questioner who asked about the three-way, so that hadith is from Muslim Ahmed by narrative Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Now, you see, these two hadith is similar, and they're not ahad. But now that hadith from my limited research, I saw that it's only the only narration mentioned, the three-way dua is accepted, whatnot, and three answers. So my thing is, and also it's from Muslim Ahmed, and it's Sahih by Albani. So
Okay.
my question is, was there any other scholars prior to that who graded that hadith besides Albani? And how do we reconcile? Now, if someone wants to make ijtihad on like innama a'mal binniyah, that's also an ahad hadith and it's authentic. But this hadith, how do we reconcile while there's stronger hadith which can not negate, but it can.
Understood. It states something a bit different. However my slave thinks of me, he'll get what he expects and wants and begs of me. I am as my slave thinks of me. Barakallahu feek for a good question. All of the scholars, they don't unanimously agree that everyone is going to get their dua. It's not the view of every single item from the people of knowledge. Some scholars argue, because of that hadith and others, is that everyone dua is given, period. One way, one form, or another. So that's number one. So all of the scholars don't necessarily agree on that. Secondly is, there's not necessarily a clash or a contradiction. I am as my servant thinks of me. Okay? It doesn't mean that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to give to every servant what his servant asks of and thinks of. That Allah is the most generous, most kind. The Prophet ﷺ, he asked Allah for things Allah didn't give him. The Prophet, he asked for certain things and Allah did not give him those things. He gave him other things, the fighting among the Muslims, bloodshed among the Muslims. Allah did not give him that. But he prevented the Ummah from being destroyed totally from outside. The Ummah from being wiped out through famine or plague through outside. But the bloodshed of the Muslims, Allah did not give that to the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So just because your dua isn't given to you in the way or the manner or the time that you want, doesn't mean that you have bad thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for argument's sake, one could say the authenticity of that hadith versus this hadith trumps that one. The scholars before Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy upon him and reward him on our behalf, who dealt with that hadith and the other hadiths. Tahseen, this one, that one. Okay, many people, they And now, of course, this is not what you're saying, but many people, they single out Sheikh al-Albani with saying that hadith is authentic. And then him basing different dawah views or aqidah views on a hadith. Scholars came before Albani who said weak or sahih or hasan. Sheikh Albani, rahimahullah, he came and benefited from the scholars and did what he did. Alright? So for argument's sake, if one said this hadith is more authentic, ahad, mutawatir or not, it's just more authentic. Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. I am as my servant thinks of me. That's clear to me that Allah is Kareem. Allah is shy in front of his servant, rejecting his servant raising his hands, and his servant bringing his hands back with nothing in them. Alright? There are many hadith with regards to that. But I don't see that it's necessary for it to be a clash. Ta'arud. La yuzam. Wallahu a'lam. But in general, if there is ta'arud, min wujuh tarjih, from the ways of determining or bringing harmony is authenticity, whether it's ahad or not. Because the ahad hadith have different levels of authenticity. So that's a proper way of thinking in general. Wallahu a'lam. Question, Hamza Fadl.
Can you, if your teacher says you can't pray, can you pray without her permission? If you find a good place to pray?
If you have to pray, it's time to pray. You're going to miss prayer, you have to pray. No matter about that. Even if your teacher or your mother or your father forbids that. However, the Prophet, ﷺ, he told Aisha, is that whenever gentleness is used, the thing becomes beautiful. Or whenever gentleness is ignored, the thing becomes ugly. So even when you're firm and you have to disobey someone and do something, you still try to be wise and gentle. And the teacher, kafir, Muslim, munafiq, whoever the person is, if that's the teacher, you have to respect them. You don't have to agree with everything that they say, but you have to respect them because they are your teacher. And certain things you have to listen to them, not all things, but if they're your teacher, then they automatically demand what? Hamza? Some respect and some obedience. So be mindful of that. Even if the person's a kafir, or even if you're uninterested in this type of school, you still have to do the right thing. You have to do well. You have to finish. And oftentimes, sticking through doing something that you don't want, that you don't like, is a means of discipline. It's like reading a book. You may say, oh, let me skip this chapter, or this is a little boring, let me put this book down. The moment you open up that can of worms, put in a book down, you get to a good book, and then you can do what? That's up. What? Oh, let me go into another book. So sometimes the bitter medicine is better for you. I don't want to be in this school. I don't like this person. But that doesn't mean you can drop out or quit or be disrespectful. And that's not because of what you're studying and learning, but it's the discipline. You force yourself to read something that you don't like. When you find something that you do like or you do need, you're going to what? You're going to fly through it. And when you make that bad sunnah of stopping the book, quitting the book, dropping out of class, the teacher's too mean, the teacher's this, is a kafir, is secular school, that can oftentimes have an effect on your Islamic studies. And many brothers, they may drop out of school, they may quit a class because they never had scholastic discipline. And they never had scholastic respect. Your teacher is your teacher. Whether he's a deviant, a Sufi, whatever, he is your ustad. And there is an amount of respect that that person demands. You don't want to study with a Sufi or a kafir, no problem. You what? You walk away. You either keep the woman in kindness or you divorce her. There's no middle course. I don't like you. You're ugly. You're this and you're that. No problem. I'm no longer your student. But if you're sitting in that person's class, under that person's tutelage, you have to give them what? You have to give them respect. And oftentimes quitting and dropping out is the easy way. It's the easy way of the nafs. Oh, this person's a this, so let me just stop and quit. Oftentimes it haunts you. And you're better off by forcing yourself to be disciplined. There's no such thing as dropping out of class. I'll finish, then I'll stop. I'll finish the book, and I won't read another book by the same author. Instead of, oh man, this is boring, let me stop wasting my time. Think about that, huh? So it's very important for your development. Wallahu a'lam. Fadl, yes. Khalas? Khair, inshallah, we'll see what we have on Instagram. Don't see anything here. Barakallahu fikum. Inshallah, don't forget about the 30th of this month, the 30th of December. 9:30 p.m. we'll be discussing holidays in light of the book and the sunnah. At 9:30 p.m. check us out, inshallah, on HadithDisciple.com. Jazakumullahu khairan. Sallallahu alaihi wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.